Welcome back, guys, to the Not Everything's Black and White podcast. Today we got a special guest.
Hello.
Got Robert Dandi.
Hi there.
Rob does a bunch of different things. We wanted to have him on because we're in the same digital media space. And I think when it comes to having merit, I really like what Bob does. He's involved in real estate. He's been super successful. Also has aspirations of running for state committee, and
Yes.
I think it should be successful. So state and county level. And his influence there in Northampton County.
Yeah.
So, which I'm running in Lehigh for county committee. He's running for state committee, which is huge. And Bob just does great things. We've gotten to touch base and at certain events, and he runs the Keystone Forge PAC.
Yes.
Right, which I support fully. They do great things within the community, and also they are a resource for information. And that's what our main platform is being an alternative news source that provides constituents, local voters, with an opportunity to know what's really going on. So with no further ado.
Yeah, so I do run the Keystone Forge PAC and social media, primarily with Dan Rossi, who's really the brains behind the operation. He's a great guy. Mm-hmm. He's also running for county committee.
That's awesome.
But he's not unopposed. He's like in a contest. So
which do you know what ward?
he's over in Bethlehem Township.
Okay, that's a tough one. Yeah,
Everybody vote for Dan Rossi.
absolutely.
All right, over in Bethlehem.
Yeah, we got to touch base with him at who's Bob Smith's fundraiser.
Yes.
event. Smart, sharp.
Very
we
smart
got a little
guy.
impromptu interview with him.
Yeah, I didn't get to that one.
Yeah, we have to have him on for an extended interview at some point.
Yeah, I
too
love
as well.
Bob.
But yeah, it's been great. So it's like I said, having you on is great. And local politics, especially coming into the midterms, where historically results vary. Usually it's more on the negative side, and I don't know how things are going to go. So I really want to double down, and the platform here wants to double down on focusing on the local stuff and making sure we get people of influence in those positions. So at state committee level, I think it's the perfect time to get a person like you there. Right. To hopefully offset whatever results come. Hopefully it goes in our favor. I'm not quite sure that's how it's going to go.
Right.
So I just wanted you to give a little feedback on that, on what got you involved with politics and what you've been able to do so far.
Understood.
Yeah.
So I recently came back into politics in 2024, understanding the gravity of the national political situation at that point in time. I think it was very important that we had the election result that we did, simply to demonstrate that, again, the will of the people is to be expressed, and that I think many people were frustrated with the Biden administration and the way that he had handled the 4 years, especially at COVID.
Yep.
With the rampant inflation that came about because of all the money printing and other just poor policies. I have a colleague of sorts, or someone that I'm involved with, who has said often, and it stuck with me, that good policy is good politics.
Yep.
That if in effect you can exercise effective government policy that works best for most of the people in your constituency, in your country, in your community, that's what plays well. And I think that obviously the 4 years that we experienced under the Biden-Harris administration were nothing short of disastrous.
Absolutely.
For most people. A few did do well. Those who were the beneficiaries of all of the government policy. If you ran an NGO, or if you a subsidy program or whatever, that was difficult. Now, I will have to say, I was able, because I was an employer at the time, to be able to participate in, say, the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yeah, PPP program.
Yep, we took that in. That helped us support, in part, some of our employees while we were shut down by Governor Wolf, the Democrat governor, who absolutely forbid us to work. So, there was some offset there. I'm certainly conservative, but don't believe that there is not a role for government to play in our lives.
Yeah,
100%.
It's just gotten so large.
And the abuse.
Well, there's no doubt about the fact that there's a tremendous amount of waste, fraud, and abuse, subsidization of effort that is not productive and such. And so with that being the case, again, I think that my involvement was spurred on by recognizing those problems that we had.
Yeah.
And then after that, I became more involved because I had seen where Obviously, the national level was very important. We were faced with, during the election, many issues that resonated with me regarding how important down ballot races were.
Yeah.
There were many people who showed up to vote early or who were looking to vote when I was at a polling station, for example, or I was helping with the early voting and such that was going on, was that people were just saying, "Oh, I just want to vote the top of the ticket. I just want to vote for the president."
It's unfortunate.
And that's it. It's very unfortunate. And
It's the only thing people. I'm sorry.
no,
It's the
please,
only
this is
thing-
your podcast.
A lot of times, it's the only thing people pay attention to. People
Yeah.
only pay attention to national things, and we say this all the time on the podcast with other guests we've had on. Your local elections are way more important. They affect your day to day, and you have people that are always complaining about how their lives are going, or how their garbage bills more, or how their taxes have gone
Yep.
up, or how things in their community are going, and then they never vote on, like you just said, they were literally just voting for president. They weren't even voting for.
And
They weren't even voting
interested.
down ballot, right?
Yeah.
For
They didn't know who they were. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know anything about it. All they knew was Trump come out. Trump come out.
Yep.
And doing this type of show and having these type of guests on, we're trying to get people on to explain how important.
Yeah,
these
understand
type of
the
races
gravity of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gravity of it is very important. So we were successful by very thin margins in getting our Senator McCormick on, and our local representative, Ryan McKenzie, on through those efforts to make sure that there was down ballot voting and such. And I agree with you. I think that it's very raw and hard to accept that in the local election cycle in 2025, where we lost pretty substantially across the board, that in practically every jurisdiction, your taxes were raised.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy on the Democrat side, where they complain about affordability, yet every time they win, they raise your cost of living by increased taxes, increased expenses, and make it harder for the average person to get involved in the economy productively.
Yep.
And so with that being the case, that's why I continue to be involved and want to see us win again. It's really important.
One of the parts that I like about you the most is that it's the I'm not a career politician, right? And the fact that you were activated, and we deal with people locally in the party, so it's like George, it's me, it's you, it's Rocco, and everyone I deal with in that space was activated by a specific event, right? And it's I think that shows merit, and the fact that you have creative solutions. And when it comes to local politics, the stuff that gets drowned in with the sensationalized stuff, and you mentioned it perfectly, it's like the affordability crisis is not going to get better by raising taxes in all local jurisdictions.
Not at all.
And it's really sad, and we'll continue to hammer down on it. It's been our number one, it's our whole personality at this show, and having someone on like you that's in the real estate game, I think is super important. I want to kind of go into some of that.
Yeah.
Anybody who survived the 2008 crash, I think has merit.
Well, and the current, I mean, in terms of the
I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in the valley.
housing
Is a crisis.
tough.
Yeah.
Housing is tough. Now, I will say that the market pressure to have more housing is starting
Yeah, they're
starting to loosen up because people understand that they simply need more housing. And I would have to say that the participation in the traditional American dream of owning your own home is a great way to get a foothold in the economy that a lot of younger people have been boxed out of. And I'm not saying younger people. One of the first steps. We forgot that. And when I first got involved in the business in the late 1980s, the old timers of that era who had lived through the tremendous inflation of the 1970s had pushed a theme that at the time, because the market was more somnolent, quieter at that point, it really had gone by the wayside. But they were saying, well, you want to get into the housing market because you want to fix your housing payment, because you get a mortgage. That's a fixed rate mortgage.
Makes you inflation proof in some regard.
Inflation proof regarding your housing costs.
Right.
And it would protect you because you would build equity should in fact there be.
Right.
Yeah.
Asset.
So with that being the case, if you take out the ability for people to own their own homes, I don't want to put down the efforts to create more rental housing. I think that's helpful. but people really need to get in and start owning
Yeah.
their own property. And I would have to say there was nothing more instructive. John Kennedy said the same thing about being a commissioned salesperson, that if you have to sell something to make a living, that'll motivate you to do better and find a way. There's nothing more instructive to the average person than taking care of your own home. You have to learn how to manage a whole bunch of things that, prior to that, if you're a tenant, you just call your landlord.
Right.
It's very helpful, not just economically, but educationally, to own your own home.
100%.
And that's why we need to really loosen the regulation on the creation of more housing units. We need to lower the cost for developers to go in and create average, median priced inventory for people to latch into. When I was growing up, people would have their little split level, their little bi-level, their little ranch, their little Cape Cod, whatever it was. Everybody was happy. And the valley's still full of that inventory. It's just all bought up right now.
And being rented.
Et cetera, et cetera. So with that being the case, that's one thing that I'm really keen on, is to work on regulations that would help reduce the regulatory burden for people to create that housing that we all need.
That's huge. And that's why to be honest with you, I'm hoping that this is just your first step, right? We're here, and I never like to get the cart but get before the horse. But I'm truly hoping, right? Because you're talking about one of the issues that's really important to me. I work in banking, and to see
well, you talk about regulation,
right? Like I said, you brung it up perfectly. I think that's the first step to me, and actually being able to build wealth and having equity, and it gives you an opportunity to have emergency savings. We do things like home equity lines of credit. If you can leverage the equity of your home, that puts you in a different position in comparison to a person who is working paycheck to paycheck and the rents constantly increases. And even things like property taxes. That's why I draw such a hard line there, right? And then especially now in modern times where we kind of know that the people locally and at the national level are not necessarily the best steward of your tax dollars.
Heck no.
Right? So the increases in the area where I was working, and even now where I'm at now, but when I was in Emmaus specifically, the 26% increase, I saw that directly affect my clients.
Oh, sure.
Especially older people on fixed incomes. To see people be in a position, there's some people that are on track to definitely lose their homes. Our delinquency rate was through the roof before I left my previous employer. And also just the amount of credit card debt was just expanding and given and taking away people's opportunity to own a home. I think it's a tragedy. So like I said, people like you, I hope you continue up the ladder. State committee, local county committee, we love that you're going to be involved in that, but I hope that because your level of expertise and the way that you see it in such a non-sensationalized national level, CNN, Fox News kind of way, I think that's important. We have to continue to double down and hammer down on that.
I think it's the most very much, and I think you being in finance, you see it.
I mean, I'm conservative.
No, it's
my religious convictions, of course, but it turned me completely conservative because it just opens up.
How many times have you seen people get beyond frustrated and abandon the opportunity to get mortgage financing simply because of the complexity?
A ton.
It is, and again, it's important for my generation to be involved in. I always say that if you don't get involved with politics, politics will certainly get involved with you.
That's
right. It'll get involved with you, right?
It's impossible to avoid.
So, but my point with that is to say that the heritage and the historical memory that my generation has, you could really simply walk into a bank or a savings and loan, show up, have a job of sorts, a little bit of money, qualify for a mortgage without a problem.
Handshake loan days.
Almost at that level. And so, we've taken away a lot of that opportunity, and I don't want to speak to the abuses that had taken place in the finance industry. Those needed to be taken away as well, and those needed to be regulated against. We've just gone too far in the other direction, which is to say, it is extremely difficult to buy a home because of the cost and get one financed because of the regulation.
Correct.
I mean, if you look at just over since 2020, I think I just read this actually maybe like 2-3 days ago. If you look at just from 2020 to now, the same home, I believe, with the way the interest rates are and with inflation and everything, I think the same exact home. So I bought my house, I believe I bought my second house in 2020. I bought 2 houses actually under Trump's first term because it was so affordable.
Yeah. Right.
I was able to do it. Interest rates were, I think my first interest rate was 3.5.
That was the bottom floor. We would probably won't see that for another 30 years.
Yeah, my second one I bought, I think at like 4.
That's great.
Or actually, no, I think it was actually under because it was during COVID, so everything went even lower. So whatever. So if I bought my house now, the same house I bought in 2020, my mortgage currently is $1,700 because of that. My mortgage right now would be $3,000.
Yeah.
Right.
So for the same house,
Right.
$1,300 difference over 4 years. Now
That's
the wages
unsustainable.
haven't gone up that substantial.
Correct.
So how are people supposed to afford median-sized homes and have them? I mean,
It makes you
my
house
thing.
poor. We call it house poor. in my
Again,
business.
again, it goes back to where poor policy has promulgated poor outcomes.
For sure.
Just again, writ large. Whereas the whole money printing exercise that went on during COVID inflated everything.
Right.
Where the globalization of work has taken away the ability for wages to rise commensurate with that here in the United States. And so all of those poor policy choices have had very bad outcomes.
Yes.
And instead of I'm sorry,
No, please.
Instead of them trying to help the problem, they just throw money at the problem. They don't come up with any solutions. It's just like, oh, we'll print more monwe and that'll alleviate the problem. Literally, that's what created the problem.
Yeah.
They have no real solutions. That's why, like we were talking about, your local elections, putting the right people in these positions to make these decisions is the most important thing. At the end of the day, national elections, of course, they have extremely
large,
consequences. Okay, who's in office? But a lot of times it takes a lot longer to trickle down to you with those national elections. Whereas your day-to-day things that go on in your life, your local elections are way more important.
Yeah, if you have someone on the zoning committee who's making poor choices, right, and poor decisions, that's going to affect you at a way more close range than what's going on up here in the years that it takes to finally trickle down, or if girls can go in boys' bathrooms or whatever the case may be. These sensationalized issues, and I really think that people have gotten completely captured by that. And I really hope we can get back to having people in position that have strategy. Housing is one of the main things.
Yes.
And really, you hit the nail on the head. This renting culture, I think, is toxic, and it doesn't allow you to control things moving forward. Like coming from a renter currently, right? It's hard to manage. Yeah. It's hard to save. It's hard to build wealth. It's hard to invest when you're constantly subjected to the increases on a yearly basis that you have no control over.
And like you said, the youth feels hopeless. At this point.
Yeah, the nihilism bothers me a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, and I can sense that. You know, and I hate to have this historical memory, but man, back in my day, right? Okay, I hate to say that. I mean, it was, you could get a job like that if you wanted. You could go do whatever you wanted. It was, you could really get ahead very quickly. It is harder today. I don't want to sit here either as somewhat of a more senior generation and say, well, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
The game's different. The game is truly different. And unfortunately, I think has been stacked against our younger generations, our younger native-born generations, in a way that really we never experienced.
Me too.
You know, so from that perspective, I'm very concerned about trying to open up economic opportunity for you guys and gals that are working, trying to get started here in an environment which is truly difficult.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a great point. The nihilism grows and grows and grows and grows with this generation. And so it's two-pronged to me with owning a home and starting a family. I think fall in the same category.
For sure.
In regards of, not only there's there financial implications to it, but there's also a social structure part that comes to it.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's the part that people forget. It makes
gives
you
you a
feel like
purpose.
you have skin in the game.
Gives you a purpose.
It gives you a purpose. And I think some of the chaos trickles from people just feeling like there's no hope, right? There's no end game. So let's just flip the table.
Well, it's because
and that's the part that concerns me, honestly, the most.
I think a lot of it is they've been given so many false promises for so long. A lot
Yes.
of people have been given so many false
Yes.
promises from politicians for so long, so they literally feel hopeless. Like if you talk to younger kids, I mean, I'm 35, but if you talk to people that are even younger than me, like I have nephews that are about to graduate high school, things like that, they feel like they have no hope.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about the American dream. The American dream 30, 40 years ago was literally you worked, you did the right thing, right? You followed the law, you worked hard, right? You were able to have a family, have a house with one job, with one income.
Yes.
You were able to support like a family of 3, a family of 4. You had 2 cars. You went on vacation every year. That made people feel valued. That made people
Yeah.
feel hope. And then the younger generation now is coming up. That's gone.
Yeah.
Unless things change drastically politically, and also if things change drastically economically, we need like all of these policies. If you look at all the policies over the last 30 years, it's been so terrible for the future generations, and it's been only helpful for, unfortunately, like, honestly, a lot of older generations. That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
It's like they rigged the game for these younger kids, for these younger generations, and I feel terrible for them because, listen, I'm someone that advocated for Trump, like big time. You know, I still do. I still think a lot of the stuff he does domestically is great, but my take, even with the stuff that's going on in Iran, it's so hard for these kids to see that when they're looking at their future right now, and they're like, well, now gas just went up $1, diesel $6.
Right.
If we don't find an end game to this war in a year, say we're there for a year, this is it's gonna be a catastrophe for these kids economically.
Yeah, I'd like to touch base a little bit on Iran because it concerns me quite a bit to see us in that level of conflict, and especially because it can involve your generations much more so than mine, and that is to say, it's very hard for us to know things that are known or concerns that are known at a national security level.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate for war, but I do know that the United States has kicked the can down the road geopolitically so many times to our ill
Oh, for sure.
that, you know, for example, we were surprise attacked at Pearl Harbor. We were surprise attacked on 9/11. We had assumed everything was going to be fine. Europe, in the Second World War and the run-up, had thought that, okay, appeasement was the right solution for the Nazi Germany, Hitler-driven expansion that was going on in the late 30s. And unfortunately, had we stood up sooner in those run-ups, we may have forestalled something. It's not a good thing to be at war. On the other hand, we simply don't know what is trying to be prevented at this point in time. That doesn't give you any comfort, I understand, but I share your despondency that this Iran conflict runs counter to everything that the current president had run on, which was to lower costs. This will not lower costs.
That's what I think the biggest issue is. If everyone was doing well,
Right.
and things were all going well, nobody would care
Right.
Yeah.
about the Iran war. The
Right.
problem is when your own citizens are struggling,
Right.
and they've been struggling now for decades.
Right.
That's the problem. It's not like
Exactly.
we were good and then it like you
No,
had
no.
a rough year.
It's not
No,
short
This
term.
is
Yep.
this is decades now
Yep.
of failed policies, and I'm not blaming Trump. I agree with probably 80% of the stuff Trump does, but there's 20% that I don't agree with. I'm going to call it out.
Yeah, and let me say that I think that with the issue of, and I think we have to plan very aggressively for a post-Trump era
sure.
of
Yeah.
conservatism
That's-
because
and that's-
he's on his last term.
I agree
So
with that.
I think we need to, and I'm very thankful that there are other conservative leaders that are coming up that are younger, such as J.D. Vance and Marco
agree.
Rubio and such. And I think we need to be participating. I need to be encouraging younger people to get involved
It's gonna be a
because
completely
it's
different
their
season.
country. It's a completely different
Yeah.
thing. So this whole issue of Donald Trump, we have to plan for another era,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
it's past that. And so, as I said, we have been struggling for a long time. However, I would recall to your memory that there were other generations that faced similar difficulties. The silent generation went through almost a decade of a Great Depression.
Yep.
and then a Second World War, and then a Korean War shortly after that. It was very, very difficult for them also. I think that we can make it through this together.
Absolutely.
If we just buckle down.
I think
and
with
do what
good
we gotta
strategic
do.
financial planning, I think
Exactly.
for sure, and like you said, it's just a testament as old as time. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So you're at, and you brung up that specific span, and I think we're right there. Maybe not as extreme. Like things are a little better.
They're a little bit better than
but
that.
Well, your
but
day-to-day
a very
life is definitely better than it was.
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
The technology we have, the things we have is definitely.
but definitely a comparable era in
Economically,
history.
yes.
But it's super important, like even that, before we exit too, I do want you to touch base. Maybe it's putting you on the spot, but I want you to maybe share with our viewers a few things that you can see strategically, whether it be at the local level or the national level, that you think that we can implement to kind of make things a little more relief.
So, well, in terms of relief, I think we need to get more involved, and as I said, reduce the regulation, try to find common sense things, better utilization of the tax revenue that we do raise. I mean, the gusher or the geyser of gasoline tax that goes into Harrisburg, and our roads are like this.
Terrible.
I mean, come on, man.
I need
Where's
new
that
shocks
money
on my car,
Where
which
is
I'm
that
pretty
money
upset
going?
about.
It is
I just replaced them.
unbelievable. The mismanagement at state and local government is epic.
Insane.
Yeah.
It is
insane.
epic.
But I think that's part of it, though. They get
That
the
is
they
part
get to
of it.
hide a little bit because they just hide behind whoever the main guy is, you know. And then it's like, oh no, not me, main guy. No, not me,
Yeah.
main guy. They
Why
take credit
is
for the good stuff.
Just ask yourself this. This is just common sense to me. Why is every business, if you open any business, right, everything's audited. You know exactly where the money's flowing to, where it's coming from.
Heavily audited.
Why do we never see things that should be fully transparent? They hide, they do little things that hide the money, where the money's going. Like the fraud, just the waste, like we were talking about before.
The mismanagement is epic.
Where the money goes, we throw money here, this has to go here, and it never actually goes to the constituents in the community. Never.
From
Nothing.
January to
Nothing.
June.
I mean, they have the most flow of tax money, tax revenue going
Ever.
in,
Yeah.
and things are worse than ever for the constituents.
Yeah,
that shit, it makes no sense.
Not at all.
None.
From January to June at my job, I'm printing statements
Right.
for business clients. Statements. Small businesses, it's always ironic to me. It's usually businesses that are not doing all that well. They're not super profitable. It's never like the big fish in the pond. But it just blows my mind that there's that much oversight on
the little
on
people.
on a gas station, right, or a little diner, or a mom and pop shop. But we don't have that same sort of process when it comes to billions of dollars in tax
No,
dollars.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to change.
There really needs to be an adjustment with
That's
that.
why I was a huge advocate of Doge, just because when it was being laid out, they were talking about literally showing exactly like having
putting a
line
blockchain,
items, like just literally showing you your money's going here,
Yeah.
your money's going here, your money's going here. That's how it should be.
Yeah, we have left.
With all the technology, I'm sorry. With
Well,
all the technology
exactly.
we have, how the heck do we not see that?
How is
the
it-
only
Yep.
excuse is that they're hiding it.
Yeah.
There's no other excuse. With the technology we have, we'd be able to see all that. No problem.
Exactly. It should be, with all the technology that we have, that actually the cost of government should go down
100%,
over time.
yeah.
It's a good point.
Not go
Yep.
up.
It's a great point.
In that regard, because of all the efficiencies that technology
Right, you
involves.
got thousands of people in office pushing papers for the government. They could go out into the real world and I'm not sure.
Utilize some of the
You know,
AI
they-
implementation.
Exactly.
Right. They can have other jobs, create a small business, do whatever.
Right.
Go into the real economy rather than spending taxpayer money to do something
It's
that
just fluffing up
Exactly.
is what I look
Yeah,
at it
it's
as.
a
it's
lot
kinda
of
like
waste.
A fake job, honestly.
It is.
Honestly, I know it's kind
Yes.
of messed up, but it really is. It's a job that's really not a necessity, where it could be done more efficiently and way less cost
Yep.
by AI or something like that, or some type of technology.
For sure. And that's what I would hope, that we can implement strategies and protocols and processes that would help make government work for the people, as opposed to people working for the government,
Exactly.
which is what we're doing every time when we're making those tax payments. And they're in your weekly paycheck stubs. I get them all the time. I pay employer taxes.
Oh, boy.
I pay real estate taxes.
You probably pay more
I
in
pay-
taxes in a year than my salary.
Exactly. Well,
I
I
wouldn't
mean,
even
in
want
terms
your
of
tax bill would
when
make
you
my
look at
knees
the
weak.
aggregate, and this is stuff that's commonly available online. If you pay real estate taxes. You pay employer taxes, sales taxes,
Payroll taxes.
everything that we pay in that regard. To get the result that we get is just terrible.
Exactly. I mean, I think I looked at this too the other day. You basically work for 4 months free out of the year. 3 to 4 months free.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
easily.
Just think about that though. 3 to 4 months free. That's a quarter of the year.
To be honest, I tried not to think about it. I saw a guy say that years ago. He was breaking it down. I was like, oh God.
How is that not the world?
It sent me on an existential
That
crisis.
feeds into the nihilism that we
It
talk
really
about.
does, yeah.
When people think about that, you should be living in a obviously nothing's ever going to be utopia, but you know what I mean. Like your street should be nicer, the infrastructure should be nicer, buildings should be nicer, housing should be affordable. Schools should be better. Like we have schools that spend the most money are
Perform
the
the
worst
worst.
testing
It's
schools.
almost
Yes,
like, yeah.
again,
What's the logic in that?
There is none.
How is that humanly possible?
No, there is
What's going
none.
on? Like
There
how
is
are
none.
how are these people not being answered for these things? It
Right.
honestly infuriates
And
me.
eventually reaches a breaking point where the people have to make the choice politically. And,
Yeah.
and this is one of the things that I'm very interested in is to push our side to do the electioneering infrastructure that the other side is very good at. I don't want to. I understand there's cheating going on, et cetera, but until we get good at the game, I don't want to worry about that. We got to get good at the game.
I agree with you.
We have to do things like this where we're reaching out to
agree with
people.
you 100%.
We have to go out and make sure that we get people registered to vote, that we get people to vote.
Yep.
Right? That's very important because your vote is truly your voice.
Yeah.
And if you don't get involved, it's going to get involved with you. You got to get out, you got to get registered, you got to vote, and you have to vote correctly then.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to have you on too, is like that was my first thing, is the fact that you're in a bunch of different tech exchange with me, but not only are you running the PAC, right, you're on the digital side, which is great, that's part of it, but you're also involved with the grassroots side of it, and that's what I like. You're out there door knocking. Right?
Door knocking, getting petitions
you're
signed, getting people
Beautiful.
registered.
That's how it all starts.
And that's what I always tell people, and like locally, I'm glad that we're expanding on that thought process because we throw great events, right? We put up candidates, but the Democrats are very good at the mechanism part.
Yeah, they're very good. I mean,
Very good, and also
very
they have
skilled.
an advantage in that regard of they own the media sites and they own that portion.
most of them.
Right, most of them for the most part. And locally, I mean, it's probably even.
But that's why
a little more stark
independent media
contrast.
like this is so important.
It's huge, yeah. But they do really well at the mechanism and the mechanic part of it, and I'm glad that we have people on board that understand that is just as important. That's that's the heartbeat of everything.
Yep.
Because we can get on here.
With your effort to be on county committee, then after you win your election, you should be in contact with every registered Republican, see what they need, see how you can help them, see how they can help the cause generally, and work on building that from the ground up.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, because when I went on my petition signing, you know how you get the call sheet, and what I noticed was it shows the participation. And my list, there was it was a list of, it's a small area, small ward, but there was 88, 98 registered voters, but their participation in the last 4 years is almost zero.
Right.
They vote every 4 years.
Right. No.
They show like
You need to be
they gave me a
voting
call
in
time.
every
And
election.
it was like it was
Every
it was
single
disheartening.
Times I talk to my family.
It bummed me out.
My family knows how I'm into politics, and I've been in for a long time now, probably since I think like 2012, which I was young. I was like 22, whatever I was at that time. I tell my family, I'll be like, hey, there's election. There's election coming up. Dude, none of them have no idea.
I have no idea.
No idea
It's
because
extremely important.
And the thing is, I try not to blame them because I get it. Life's busy. Everyone has a lot to do. But if more people were door knocking, more people were volunteering, if more people were getting involved and speaking more, and they would know.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really not their fault.
And I would say the same thing. I would say that was the main thing with us when I was going around for Bob and going around for myself. It's the lack of information, right?
Yeah.
And then I think that to figure out the solution all the way around the board, I think there's going to be some time. I don't necessarily have the answer.
Yeah, it's going to take
door
work.
knocking
I mean,
and making
you guys,
people aware is a big part of it. But I think there's also something within people that they just don't understand the gravity of it. Yeah. That was my take on it when I would go and I was going around, especially for myself. They're just like, well, I knew about it and I seen signs for it and I got the emails, but I don't understand the ramifications of it. So I think as a party, especially locally, we have to get better at that. And that's something I'll put task myself with, making people understand the gravity of it.
Yeah.
Social media is a game changer.
Yes.
To
Yes.
get your voice out.
It levels
Yes.
the playing field a
It's-
bit for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if we're able to build something for the local Republican Party, you know, here, even with us, like our stuff, I mean, that's a game changer for them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It gets their voice to thousands of more people than
Absolutely.
it necessarily would. You know, how many hours is it going to take to get to 1,000 people door knocking when everyone's on social media now? I
Yeah.
mean, we can literally make a clip and it can reach the amount of people in 5 minutes.
It's huge.
Compared to,
But we need to be in the community more. This is a help, but every piece of it, every gear in the machine, social media being one of them, is important, along with the door knocking, meeting with your constituents.
Everything. I agree.
All of those pieces need to come together.
I agree.
And that's more so what I would like to push. I mean, I'll leave you with this, and that is to say that you guys are obviously in the gym, right? You guys are looking good,
Rocking
fit,
more than
trim,
you.
right, etc. Right? But you know that the gains don't show up except after consistent effort and time
Correct.
over a period.
Especially as you get older.
And it takes work. Yeah, right. Exactly. Imagine me. But that is sort of how we need to view this process.
I agree.
We're in a period of building. We're in the gym, so to speak, politically.
Right.
We're coming from way behind. But I think that if we apply patient, persistent effort, we can positively affect our lives here in the Lehigh Valley
I agree with
and
you.
in Pennsylvania.
I agree with you 100%.
That's a great. Listen, we're gonna close it out. We appreciate Bob coming on, and that last part, that message was directly to me. I hope it resonates with the viewers as well. Hit me with it again. Patient, persistent.
Patient, persistent effort.
That's the word of the day.
Yeah.
Bam. That was great.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.